I want you to try something for a second. Stop what you're doing, just freeze, and listen.
Okay.
Really listen. What is the soundtrack of your life right now? Is it the hum of the AC? The distant roar of traffic?
Maybe a leaf blower 3 streets over?
Or is it that incessant, that dopamine triggering ping of a notification on your phone?
It's almost never silence, is it? Even in what we consider our quiet moments, there's always a hum.
Never. We call this the soundtrack of modern life, but I think for a lot of people it feels more like an endurance test.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt physically exhausted at the end of the day, not because you ran a marathon, but just from the sheer volume of your day?
Absolutely. And that feeling isn't just in your head. Well, I mean, it is in your head, but it's also in your heart, your blood vessels, your cells.
So for this deep dive, we're looking at a stack of research that argues we are drowning in 2 specific types of pollution.
Right, it's a double whammy today. You've got the literal acoustic noise in our environment, the planes, trains, and all that.
Yeah.
But then you have this other thing, this metaphorical noise.
A clamor of busyness.
The clamor of busyness, administrative overhead, pseudo-productivity, all the stuff that's just clogging up our brains.
And the sources for this one are fascinating. We've got a skeptical breakdown of noise pollution from Jordan Harbinger and Jessica Wynn.
We also have a very specific, almost bizarre scientific study on marine mutualism from Oxford Academic.
Oh, the one with the blind shrimp and the fish. It is wild.
It is. Plus, we're pulling from the book Clamor by Chris Burdick and a masterclass on slow productivity from Cal Newport and Mel Robbins.
It's a diverse stack, but the picture they paint together it's pretty stark. We are living in a world that is quite literally too loud for our own biology.
So the mission today is to connect these dots.
We're going to figure out why your wish list, to-do list is failing you, why traffic noise is physically shrinking plants, yes, actually shrinking them, and how to reclaim your brain from all this noise.
Okay, let's start with the invisible threat, the environment. I think most of us view noise as just an annoyance.
Right. A neighbor's dog barks, you get annoyed, you put on headphones, and you move on.
We don't think of it as a medical crisis.
No, not at all. Usually the solution is just turn up the volume on the TV. But the data from the Harbinger deep dive suggests that is a dangerous oversimplification.
They highlighted a stat from the WHO and the European Environment Agency that really stopped me in my tracks.
They rank noise pollution as the second most harmful environmental exposure to public health in Europe.
Second only to air pollution.
Which just seems insane. How can noise be worse than, say, water pollution or chemical runoff?
Well, it comes down to the sheer scale of exposure and the physiological reaction your body has. The sources point to approximately 48,000 new cases of heart disease in Europe annually.
Directly linked to chronic noise exposure.
Directly.
Okay, let's unpack this. I get that a jackhammer gives me a headache, but how does a loud noise translate to heart disease? That feels like a leap.
It's the flight or fight mechanism.
Yeah.
You have to remember, for most of human evolution, a loud noise meant danger.
A predator, a rock slide, a scream.
Exactly. So your body is hardwired to react to sudden volume with a shot of cortisol and adrenaline.
But we know a car horn isn't a tiger. We logically know we aren't about to be eaten.
You know that consciously. Your autonomic nervous system. It does not. It fires the signal before you can even process the source. And here's the scary part.
Go on.
This happens even when you're asleep.
Wait, so if I sleep through the siren or the plane flying over, my body is still stressed?
Yes. Researchers call them awakenings. You don't fully wake up, you don't open your eyes, but your brain registers the threat, it spikes your blood pressure, and it floods your system with stress hormones to prepare for an attack.
So if you live near a flight path or a busy road, your heart is basically running a marathon every single night while you sleep.
That's it. It is terrifying. It's like having a security guard in your brain that is just trigger happy and never goes off duty.
And over years, that chronic inflammation just destroys your cardiovascular system.
We are bathing in stress hormones because our ancient hardware can't handle our modern software.
And if it's doing that to us, and we have walls and windows and earplugs, what on earth is it doing to animals?
This is where we have to talk about the Umwelt.
I loved this term. It's German, right?
Yes, from the author Chris Burdick. Refers to a creature's specific self-centered world, their sensory bubble.
We assume every animal experiences the world like we do.
But they don't. For many animals, especially in the ocean, sound isn't just communication, it's vision, it's touch.
Yeah.
It is how they perceive reality.
Because sound travels so much faster underwater.
5 times faster. It's an incredibly efficient way to see the world.
Until we get involved.
Right. When humans introduce shipping lanes, naval sonar, massive cruise ships, we aren't just making it loud. We are creating a chaotic fog. We're effectively blinding marine life.
The sources mentioned the narwhal, the unicorn of the sea. They're facing extinction risks not just because the ice is melting.
But because the melting ice allows cruise ships into their habitat.
And they can't hunt. They can't find their calves.
It's tragic. There was that one statistic about the beachings in Maharashtra, India. 88 dolphins and whales beached in one area. The noise just disrupts their echolocation so severely they lose all sense of direction.
They essentially crash because their navigation system is jammed by our noise.
It really puts the whole silent ocean myth to bed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The cacophony down there.
But there was a flip side to this in the sources, the resilience of nature. When the noise stops, the recovery is almost instant.
The anthropause. During the COVID lockdown.
Exactly. I loved the detail about the birds. Robins usually sing at night in cities to avoid traffic noise.
Right.
But during lockdown, when the cars stopped, they switched back to singing during the day.
And birds near construction sites, they actually regrew feathers they had lost due to stress. Like the whole ecosystem just exhaled.
It proves that the damage is reversible if we just turn down the volume. But I think the most shocking piece of evidence in this stack wasn't the whales or the birds.
It was the plants.
This blew my mind. I am a skeptic when it comes to talking to plants, but this was hard science.
Right. This wasn't some pseudoscience thing.
Yeah.
Researchers took two sets of identical plants. One set in a natural, quiet environment. The other was exposed to recordings of traffic noise.
Same light, same water, same soil.
And the difference was not subtle. The quiet plants grew to about 104 millimeters. The traffic noise plants,
Stunted. At 65 millimeters.
they were nearly half the size, just from noise.
How is that even possible?
The mechanism is just physics. The sound waves, the actual vibrations in the air, were strong enough to alter the cell walls of the plants. It thickened them, made them tougher.
And reduced seedling germination. The noise was physically shaking the life out of them.
It is a haunting image. If noise can toughen the cell walls of a plant, you really have to wonder what it's doing to us on a cellular level.
It totally reframes noise from a nuisance to a biological stressor. Absolutely.
But I want to pivot here.
Okay.
We've established noise hurts our health, stunts plants, confuses whales. But there's a really specific study in the stack from Oxford Academic about a fish and a shrimp that I think explains the social cost of noise better than anything else.
Yes. The goby and the shrimp.
A classic example of mutualism.
It's like an odd couple situation.
It really is. You have the Steinitz's goby, which is this small fish with great eyesight.
And the snapping shrimp, which is an excellent digger but is almost totally blind.
So they become roommates. The shrimp builds and maintains the burrow. It keeps the tunnel clear.
Yeah.
The goby stands guard at the entrance.
And if a predator comes?
The goby flicks its tail or touches the shrimp's antenna. It's all tactile communication. And poof, they both hide.
It's a perfect system. You've got the muscle and the eyes working together.
Until we add a boat engine.
Right. And the researchers didn't just play loud noise. They were very specific. They tested two types of engines, a 4-stroke and a 2-stroke.
Because they produce different frequencies. The 4-stroke engine, it makes a complex sound. The goby the fish hated this. It got scared, increased its hiding time by 22%.
Okay.
But the 2-stroke engine's different. It's louder, but it also creates these intense low-frequency fluctuations, particle acceleration.
And that's what the shrimp feels.
Exactly. The shrimp doesn't hear like we do. It feels vibration. And that 2-stroke engine terrified the shrimp. It reduced its time outside the burrow by 34%.
And here is what I found most interesting about that.
What's that?
The communication didn't break down. They were still touching each other. They were still talking.
But they were too scared to do their jobs.
Exactly. Their risk perception skyrocketed. They stopped cleaning the burrow. They stopped feeding. They spent all their energy hiding from a threat that wasn't actually attacking them.
And that feels like the perfect bridge to the human experience.
It really does. When we're bombarded by alarms, Slack notifications, traffic, we are like that goby. We retreat. We hide in our burrows. We stop doing the deep work of our lives because we're in a constant state of high alert.
Which brings us to the second half of our deep dive, the internal noise. We've talked about the acoustic clamor. Now let's talk about the clamor of pseudo-productivity.
This concept comes from Cal Newport, who is sort of the godfather of deep work.
He argues that just like we filled the ocean with sonic trash, we filled our work lives with task trash.
And he starts with a history lesson that really explains why we are like this.
If you were a farmer in 1850, productivity was easy to measure, bushels of wheat. If you worked on a Ford assembly line, it was Model Ts.
Clear, tangible output.
But how do you measure the productivity of a modern knowledge worker?
Right. If I sit and think for 4 hours and write one brilliant paragraph, I look lazy. If I answer 400 emails and write nothing of value, I look busy.
Exactly. In the absence of clear metrics, we defaulted to visible activity. We decided that doing stuff equals productivity. Newport calls this pseudo-productivity. It's the noise of work without the signal of results.
And Mel Robbins connects this to the wish list fallacy. I think every single listener is going to feel called out by this. I know I was.
The daily to-do list.
It's not a plan, is it? It's a fantasy.
It really is. We write down everything we hope to achieve. If everything goes perfectly, nobody interrupts us, and we don't need to eat or use the bathroom.
Newport calls it a fairy tale. But we do it because writing the list gives us a little hit of dopamine. Look how productive I'm going to be.
But the problem isn't just that we don't finish the list. It's the psychological cost of that failure.
Yes. When you don't finish the list, it creates what David Allen calls open loops.
Your brain is a task completion machine. If a task isn't done, your brain keeps spinning on it in the background, trying to make sure you don't forget.
So even when you're making dinner or trying to relax, your brain is just humming. You didn't send that email. You didn't finish that deck.
That's spinning. That's the internal noise. It's the hum of anxiety that follows you home.
So we have traffic noise raising our cortisol outside, and these open loops raising our anxiety inside. How do we turn it off? How do we stop being the scared shrimp hiding in the burrow?
Newport proposes a framework called slow productivity. It sounds nice, like slow food. But the first principle is actually really confrontational.
Okay.
Principle number 1. Do fewer things.
I can just hear people rolling their eyes. Must be nice, Cal. Tell my boss I'm doing fewer things. It feels like advice for tenured professors, not for real people with mortgages.
It does feel that way, but here is the mathematical argument he makes, and it's hard to argue with. Every single task you accept comes with administrative overhead.
The coordination cost.
Exactly. It's not just the work. It's the emails about the work, the meetings about the work, the status updates.
Right.
Let's say that overhead is roughly 10% of the time for any project. If you take on 5 projects, the overhead might be 50% of your time. If you take on 10.
The overhead becomes 100% of your time.
And you are spending your entire day talking about work, with 0 time to actually do work.
So doing fewer things isn't about being lazy. It's about protecting the bandwidth to actually finish something. Otherwise, you're just churning noise.
Precisely. He points to figures like Isaac Newton or Jane Austen. They were prolific, but they didn't multitask.
Yeah.
They worked on 1 or 2 major projects for years.
They allowed the pressure to be low so the quality could be high.
Exactly.
Okay, so we cut the list, we face the dragon, admit we can't do it all, but we still have to manage the day. What's the second principle?
Principle 2 is work at a natural pace. This is where we kill the to-do list and replace it with time blocking.
Walk us through the difference, because time blocking just sounds like a to-do list with extra steps.
Well, a to-do list is infinite. You can add 100 things to a piece of paper. A calendar is finite. That's the key difference. When you time block, you give every task a specific home in your day. From 9:00 to 10:02, I write the report.
And if the report takes 3 hours?
Then you physically see on the grid that you can't do the other 5 things you planned. It forces a confrontation with reality. It forces you to say no before you start the day, rather than feeling like a failure at the end of it.
That seems painful, though, facing that limitation.
It is painful, but it quiets the noise, because once the block is set, you don't have to constantly decide, what should I do next? The decision is made. And crucially, you have to capture everything. Get every tiny task out of your brain and onto the paper. Close those loops.
So we reduce the volume of tasks. We organize the flow. What's the third piece?
Obsess over quality. This is about retraining your brain to handle silence. Newport compares our attention spans to flabby muscles. We are so used to the dopamine hits of digital noise that we just can't focus.
We're addicted to the distraction. We get twitchy if we aren't checking something.
So you have to train. He calls it interval training. Start with 20 minutes of deep work. No phone, no email, just the task.
It'll feel uncomfortable. It'll feel quiet. You'll want to stop.
But then you build to 30, then 60, then 90 minutes. And the argument is that 90 minutes of that deep, Quiet work is worth more than 8 hours of shallow, noisy busyness.
It's about density of focus.
Exactly.